Uncanny Avengers, issue number 5, Captain Krakoa Unmasked. Who is Captain Krakoa? You see those blonde Goldilocks there. Captain Krakoa was originally a secret identity to buy some time for Cyclops in the earlier volumes of this current run of X-Men from I believe it's Dugan, and even prior to that with Jonathan Hickman, where the X-Men, the rise of the powers of X, revealed that through 5 special mutants, the synergy of their powers, they were able to resurrect mutants from the dead, and Xavier made that known to the world. So basically, everyone saw Cyclops had died, and the mutants did not yet want to reveal to the world that they had the ability to resurrect mutants from the dead. Therefore, Forge, in all of his ingenuity and using the plant life of Krakoa, created and forged, no pun intended, a suit of armor, and he let Cyclops use this suit with the mask, and he took the moniker of Captain Krakoa. Now, Cyclops is in Orchis captivity, so this Captain Krakoa is definitely not Cyclops. But here you see this awesome front cover. Everyone on the Unity Squad here, which is a combination of mutants and Avengers led by Captain America, is very, very shocked to see who Captain Krakoa actually is. Let's dive in and find out in this action-packed, explosive, comedic final issue of this last volume or 4th volume of Uncanny Avengers. And here we see Dr. Stasis trying to persuade possibly the individual who is going to be Captain Krakoa. And judging by that military kind of buzz cut flat top there, we know he's blonde, so it can be none other than Duke from G.I. Joe. Haha, just kidding. You see the bubble. He says, "Call me Grant Rogers." That's right, people. You guessed it. It is the alternate evil version of Steve Rogers from Secret Empire that I believe was created by Red Skull. Now, Orchis has apparently brought him back to life, and because I believe he had passed or he was dead or something like that. But basically, Dr. Stasis, who is one of the clones of Mr. Sinister, is trying to persuade him that to basically take the fight to Captain America and the Unity Squad, and he interrupts Dr. Stasis as he needs no persuading, no convincing. He's already in, but with one condition. He wants to do it while wearing the Captain Krakoa suit. So that gives you a little bit of insight into the mind, the sadistic mind of who was formerly Captain Hydra, now going by Captain Krakoa, into this evil version of Steve Rogers, that he not only wants to hit mutantdom so hard, but he wants to do it while donning something that is meaningful to them, to hit them even lower and to bring them down further beneath his feet. And so he's already in. He needs no persuading, no convincing. But I don't know anything about his character yet because I do have Secret Empire, so I do have to read that. But I'm assuming at this point he's undergone some kind of Orchis indoctrination, or maybe that's just how he is. Maybe he just really wants to get back at his alternate his counterpart. I don't really know, but we're going to find out as now he begins to take the fight to the Unity Squad. And jumping right into the fight, we see Grant Rogers standing above Steve Rogers, ready to deliver the finishing blow with that Krakoan tech developed by Forge, none other than Forge himself. And it has a built-in blaster in that arm there. And this is where we get a little bit of comic relief as well. This is just awesome from Deadpool. You see Captain America there just kind of out of it, laying on his back or his stomach, and Grant Rogers is ready to deliver the blow to end him, right? Now, this is where Deadpool, in the previous issue, Deadpool had his body severed in half, so he's got no legs right now. But Deadpool is right by one of the ankles of Grant Rogers. So Deadpool takes a big bite-sized chomp right into one of the ankles of Grant Rogers, enough to draw blood, cause him to scream and grab his ankle in pain and wince. As you see there, Deadpool is going to become quite the factor, and I think I would nominate him for MVP in this comic, in this issue here. Now, Deadpool is laying over Captain America in a very protective type of manner, even without his legs. And Grant Rogers pays no mind to it. He doesn't care. He's going to now finish them both off, kind of kill two birds with one stone. Now, this creates a distraction long enough for Psylocke to come in and slice that Krakoan blaster off of the arm of Grant Rogers, but to seemingly no avail because he delivers a Mike Tyson left hook right to Psylocke. Wow! Knocking her, as you'll see here, into Black Widow, seemingly across the building through glass. Like, I don't know how hard he had to hit her, and seemingly they don't get knocked out, but he hit her with enough force, probably in the chest or something like that, to knock her into Black Widow, to knock the both of them back through glass. So that's just a testament to the strength of the physiology of Steve Rogers, Captain America, as we know he has the super soldier serum. This also creates another minor distraction for now Monet to come in and try to take him out herself. Really love this fight scene because it is true to even cinematic form how the main antagonist is seemingly taking out the team, and each one kind of takes their try at him, right? But divided, they're not very successful. Now we see Captain Krakoa here. He headbutts Monet in the back there, and then that's enough to bring her to her knees, and she's like, ah! And there we even see now he rips some kind of panel out of the wall, or I believe he grabs the shield. And there we see Deadpool's legs. So, and then he grabs that shield, hoists it above his head, and then slams it down on Monet, like in a jackknife power bomb, if you will, pro wrestling move, slams her through the flooring, through all that concrete to the level or floor below, seemingly right through a table, just like in pro wrestling style. And now we see Grant Rogers turns his attention once again to Steve Rogers and his shield Deadpool. Captain America now is using Deadpool's torso and upper body as a shield. So he takes the blunt of the blast. Captain Krakoa, Grant Rogers fires that blast from the suit, and you see there, and Deadpool puts his arms up in an X fashion. Very, very cool, right? For X-Men, X Gene, and blocks most of that blast. And he really does protect Steve Rogers from the blast, and you see the effects there. He's just like mask ripped off from his face, smoke coming out of his chest, and here's what he says. He says, Cap, I want you to hurl me like you do that girl, referring to the old glory, that shield. And again, another testament to the strength of the super soldier serum. Steve Rogers pulls Deadpool back and hurls him right at Grant Rogers, and you see Deadpool just extending his arms out, aiding in the force, and he just grabs onto the back of Grant Rogers and takes his fingers and digs him into the eyes and gouges him, bites him on the back of the head there, and it's causing pain. It's doing damage. I mean, Deadpool is really, really carrying his weight, even though he is missing quite a bit of it. Now, this distraction allows Steve Rogers to come in, grabs that shield from Grant, and uses it now in a fashion to twist it backwards, because it only takes about 15 pounds of force to break the humerus, because the arms aren't meant to rotate. So he takes that shield that's nice and tight and taut, wrenches it counterclockwise, crack, breaks the arm of Grant Rogers. And we go to Rogue, who's at Empire State University with a bunch of scientists and scared ass people. Because, oh, and she refers to Grant Rogers as Stevil. That's pretty cool, right? Steve, evil, Stevil. He planted a nuke at this Empire State University to basically blow and take everyone out. And basically, we see there Quicksilver. I think he's either taking people away or bringing Black Widow there. I don't know. But Rogue is talking to Cap through the comm, saying it's about to blow. And then Stevil says, okay, she says there's a button there, only one way to detonate it. Stevil says, I can stop it. Captain America says, well, we're both exactly the same DNA, so that means I can too. Now we see the two telepaths here, right? Monet St. Croix, or independents, or Monet and Psylocke, they basically use and read Stevel's mind and say, no, it's a trap, right? Because I guess if Steve had touched it, then it actually would have detonated it. And then we see the two girls there giving a really cool, in harmony, in sync double kick, knocking Stevel back flat on his ass. So basically, Steve Rogers, you see him now, eyes closed, looking down, because he's delivering news to Rogue, basically saying, look, we can't detonate that bomb at Empire State University. You've got to move it out. And so they say, well, what about the ISS? Or he says that, and Rogue says, can't, it's already on the way. And then Rogue, here you see, she's already outbound. Rogue has got the bomb in her hand, this big ass nuke, and she's flying. Now, Rogue gets an idea to take the bomb or the nuke to Area 51, as she's telling Steve and everyone else over the comm. Now you see there Monet and Psylocke and Deadpool, who's just still half of Deadpool, and they're all looking at the leftover, from Rogue's her flight, just increasing her speed to get that nuke the fuck out of the vicinity of New York City. And we see Kingpin and Ben Urich, one of the Daily Bugle reporters, and he's basically kind of throwing a joke, saying, that Kingpin's hand isn't the hand he wanted to hold as he died, basically. And so basically Captain America's talking to Deadpool and saying maybe Rogue will survive the blast. And then Stevil says fat chance she'll survive. And then he turns his attention to Deadpool, saying that's twice that you've lost everything betting on the good Steve. And then he throws a little jab, I guess, saying, Deadpool, did you even tell Rogue how you felt about her? And then again, the two telepaths, Monet and Psylocke, say, okay, Stevil, that's enough. Bam! And they do the talking with their feet again, and making a crack, now seemingly breaking more bones within his body, shutting him up. And there we see the legs of Deadpool on the wall again. And now Captain America is basically kind of talking to someone, saying that he has an Avenger down, kind of relaying the information and seeing what's going on. And basically now, swoosh, Deadpool's gone. So who the hell took him? What happened? He says, good luck. Quicksilver and Deadpool come up with a plan. Quicksilver is going to take Deadpool close to Rogue to basically allow her to touch his hand so that she can use his healing factor, absorb his power, and use her healing factor. Genius, I know, right? But Quicksilver basically says he can't outrun the bomb after it detonates. They're going to have a fraction of a second, so he's going to have to pin him down, and he's going to have to do the rest, and he's going to have to hold on once they're in, like, the blast and all the air and force and pressure. So here we see Rogue, Shug, and she throws that nuke down, nearby. She's at Area 51. And then, boom! And there you see the blast and the light and the flare. It's like Krillin from Dragon Ball Z did a fucking solar flare, or TN. And there you see, and Rogue is trying to cover up with her forearms as much as she can, all that light. And we see panel by panel the blast from this nuke, and skin is just beginning to peel off and fly off, and you see now bone and the flesh is just there, and you see here Rogue just a skeleton now, right, as she's fallen to her knees, and seemingly this skeleton, I'm imagining she's dead at this point, I don't know, but like her hand is right there. And yes, coming in clutch again, Deadpool and Quicksilver, we see him locking hands with Rogue. Now, this is awesome because if we thought it was Rogue's skin, Rogue's mutant ability is seemingly in her bones, right? Which we know, I guess, DNA, yes, it is in your bone structure as well, but it's in her bones. Her bones and Deadpool's bones are touching, which is allowing her to absorb his healing factor. And here we see that, there's Quicksilver, and he was able to get away, and he's looking at the blast, and he's kind of covering himself as well, not knowing if Deadpool was able to secure the grip with Rogue. But here we see, right, the nuke is continuing to explode and go up and up and up, and here we see now, this is a really cool panel. We've got this big ass nuke explosion, and there's a comic bubble there, so we know there's conversation, so there's life, they're alive. And Deadpool is basically, talking to Rogue, been meaning to ask, what do you see in Gambit anyway? So I never knew that Deadpool had a crush on Rogue, but I can't blame him. Apparently, according to the X-Men animated series, Apocalypse had a thing for Rogue too. As he approached her when she was laying down in the iconic scene. But here we see now the awesome healing factor of Deadpool, as even in the midst of the blast, their skin and cells and blood and tissue are beginning to reform, and Rogue thanks Deadpool. You see the two swords in his back there. He's just laying. This is such a funny scene. Like, they're just like sitting on the ground and he's on his stomach, no legs. Like, they're having a just casual, candid conversation as their bodies reform. Now we are treated to a nice little finishing outro narration from Ben Urich there in the tire. Urich, I don't know how he pronounced his name. Maybe let me know in the comments. And we see Psylocke, Captain America, Monet there, the Unity Squad. Basically, they have Captain Krakoa, Stevil, in their possession. He's alive still, but he's unconscious, got some broken bones. He's defeated, humbled. Ben Urich is basically saying because Captain Krakoa, the evil Steve Rogers, went to the Daily Bugle or the university, I believe, to kill Ben Urich because the Kingpin was actually he was the one who corroborated the story and was actually helping Ben Urich with the truth and what was really going on about Orchis. Because remember, Kingpin's wife, Typhoid Mary, is also a mutant. So although Kingpin has his criminal past, and Ben Urich also mentions that Wilson Fisk is the last person he would trust, but that he is telling the truth in this situation. And so it's very cool. Now Ben Urich is kind of doing an expose, and that's what Captain Krakoa, his whole purpose was to eliminate Ben Urich from basically exposing Orchis for who they really are. A few weeks after the capture of Captain Krakoa, we see the Unity Squad standing above a building. Yes, Rogue has short hair because, of course, she, you know, is going through the healing factor part, so her hair is still short, but it'll grow back to its nice length. And there we see Deadpool and everyone, Quicksilver, Black Widow, Monet, Captain America. They're looking at a courtroom, if you will, to see, what the verdict and everything will be once Stevil, Grant Rogers, comes out, and what it will be. And Rogue says, "I can't believe it," because there we see Ben Urich as well coming out of the courtroom, I believe. And basically, we see here civilians or protesters, bystanders outside of this, Capitol building, and they begin to riot. They begin to fight over, possibly the decision from the case with Stevil. And, Ben Urich again is going into some narration, just kind of summarizing things very well. And finally, Stevil, makes his appearance, his entrance before the crowd in this nice kind of all white suit, if you will. Very interesting. He's wearing white, and he is escorted by police officers and armed guards. You see there protesters with signs like a WWF event, right? Not my captain. That outfit does look kind of cool. I think the left is covered because he had the broken arm at the hands of Captain America. And basically there we see Rogue say, she wants to fly down there and just, whop him upside the head. And Deadpool said, wait, let's hear Stevil out first. And then this part's kind of cool because, Stevil or Grant Rogers begins to go into this kind of, ominous speech, if you will. And there you see the Von Erich twins. Now, he did have a love connection with the sister, I think, Andrea. He clapped her cheeks in the shower in I think the last issue. But here you see he begins to speak and talk about mutantdom and the future, and basically like a politician. And these here images you see are of his mind, his imagination. He is I do believe he had some kind of Orchis indoctrination because he seems to have this hatred for mutants. Now, I don't know if I missed some storyline where he had some kind of grudge against mutant kind, but here you see the tombstones with all the names of the mutants on there. And this is the future that he envisions. And he's basically, now you see the signs here of his supporters. And he seemingly miraculously lifts that left arm out of the covered part of the blazer there. So that's a pretty cool suit that he had. But the arm is no longer broken. Obviously, he has the super soldier serum as well, and an incredible healing factor. Now, this next part is kind of controversial because you see him holding the American flag, and he's talking about how flags separate all of us, on the planet. So essentially, what he's doing in this speech is now going from we are no longer each other's enemy, those of us that are separated by flags, but it is us and the mutants. So he's really separating now. It's humankind against mutant kind, essentially just kind of reiterating and reinforcing that point, driving that point home for Orchis. And this is kind of a controversial part here, talking about the flag and basically saying, like, no longer will he be confined to a flag, and no longer will a flag define him, and the flag shouldn't define us, right? Because before they separated us, but now we're united. And we see here the very controversial moment of him ripping the flag, right, in half here. And it's very interesting because, but it kind of makes sense because his introduction to us Marvel readers and fans was through basically the platform of Hydra. And we know Hydra is basically anti or against America, Captain America, things like that. So basically, this is his new kind of path, his new perspective, the new direction that he's going to go, and he says, "I shall be a flag smasher." So this is kind of his declaration now that he will unite mankind by smashing flags, if you will, and unifying us, kind of now moving from the color of skin to the color of flags, to say there are no more flags because we are all united as a world against these mutant scum. And there you see Splurch, just like at a pro wrestling event, a fan throws a soda into the ring, and we see what Deadpool thinks of Stevil's speech as he throws his Dr. Pepper cup right at him, hurls it at him, and Deadpool basically says, "Whoopsie daisy," and you see the straw from his mouth. He drops that, and it splashes all over him, but it doesn't do any damage. And basically, Rogue says to Steve, "I reckon you'd be more mad." And Steve's like, "Oh, I am, but," and he goes in and gives some kind of cheesy, cliche Steve Rogers comment at a moment like this. But they're all above this rooftop and kind of reflecting on the journey that they've been through as the Unity Squad reassembled this time. And basically Captain America is basically saying, when you've grow to be his age and live as long as he has, you learn a few things along the way. And this is a very cool scene right here, closing it out. The Unity Squad all in a group here, basically saying, we still have each other. At the end of the day, there's still a war to fight, and we see Rogue there and Cap and Deadpool, and everyone's embracing a hug. Now, this part's very funny because take a look at the bottom right there, Monet and Quicksilver. Why is Quicksilver looking at Monet, right? Why are they looking at each other? Mind you, they have made out because they were sent on a mini mission together. But look at Monet. She's grabbing Quicksilver's ass. And so I just love this issue because it was a very nice balance of like seriousness and comedy, not just from Deadpool, but here you see Monet just grabbing a nice cheek of Quicksilver, and he's like startled, like, PDA, PDA, I don't want any public show of affection. So it's really cool. And we know that this is not the end of the Unity Squad. There will come another time, a day unlike any other day, when Captain America might need to reassemble the Unity Squad. If you made it this far, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to give a like, comment, and subscribe, and even share if you will. What did you guys like about this here? Are you guys following the Fall of X? Are you even mutant fans at all? I'm going to be continuing to follow the Fall of X. I'm really excited for one of the titles coming out, the Resurrection of Magneto. So, guys, thank you so much. This has been Trademark Comics, and until next time, I am out.